Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to Science Sunday. I usually don't post on Sunday and it's spring break, but something exciting happened today. Can you see what's happening? Take a good look. Look what we have. Last week I posted a picture of this and I asked you what was inside. And guess what happened this morning? I saw they are beginning to change. So welcome, we have baby silkworms now. So if you look really closely, you can see our new silkworms. Remember last week when I showed you the picture of these little balls and I asked you what they were? Now you know. The silkworms just hatched this morning. When something comes out of an egg, we use the word hatched, just like a chicken coming out of an egg. And so our silkworms came out of those eggs. See those little black things? Those are eggs. They're silkworm eggs. And so now they are silkworms. See them moving? And what do you think they're looking for? Do you remember in the story, The Very Hungry Caterpillar? What do things look for when they come out or when they hatch out of eggs? I think you're right. They're looking for food. So we need to go find some food to feed them. So hi, boys and girls. Now I'm outside in my yard. And remember for our tree lesson, we came out and counted trees. And this is the tree that I'm going to come to get leaves to feed our new silkworms. This is called a mulberry tree and it grows mulberry fruit. So remember we came last time? Let's look a little bit closer. So these are mulberry fruit. It's not ready yet, so I'm going to show you what they look like now. See how they look? They look like little worms themselves, but in a little bit they will get ripened and they'll have berries inside and we can eat those. So those little silkworms that just hatched today, they eat these leaves. These are mulberry leaves. So I'm going to pick some of them and I'm going to feed our new silkworms. See? Okay, so I have a piece of leaf right here and I already cut some pieces, but I'm going to cut some more. So I'm going to make them really tiny. I'm gonna cut them all over. And then, but just remember with the size of the leaf now that I'm using and how I have to cut it small. And then in a little bit, and maybe in a couple weeks, I want you to think about what size of a leaf I'm using to feed them then. Do you think it's gonna be a bigger piece of leaf or smaller piece of leaf? So let's see, we're gonna watch. So now I have a whole bunch of little leaves and I'm gonna take our little friends. See, some of them are already hatched and some have not hatched. And then I'm going to put them into their new home, which is a bigger box. So I'm gonna put it in here. And then I'm going to cover some of them up with leaves. You see some of them are still in the box. See, there's a couple still in the box. So I'm going to use the leaf and try to get him off. Come on, buddy. Let's see if we can get him. Yep, there we go. See? So he's on the leaf right now. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe I'll move back a little bit. But he's really tiny. Do you see him? He's right there. That's where he is. And hopefully he's going to start eating that leaf, just like the Hungry Caterpillar book. But it's not a caterpillar because caterpillars turn into butterflies. And these are silkworms and they're not going to turn into butterflies. I'm not going to tell you what they're going to turn into. We're going to see that happen by itself. But see how tiny they are? See, this is my nail and look how tiny they are on my nail. But you think about that because in a couple of weeks we're going to check in and see how big they are too. So boys and girls, for day one of our silkworm observation, I used a part of a leaf. I didn't use the whole leaf. I actually have 2 more full leaves and I think I'm going to put those in the refrigerator so that I can use it to feed them when they finish with their first leaf. So I didn't even use a full leaf. So I want you to keep track of that because it's only day one and I'm going to put half you know, like part of a leaf in there. And we're gonna write it down and also draw a picture of what happened day one. So join me. Weren't those silkworms really cool? Anyways, I was really hoping that we'd be able to have them in our class this year, but unfortunately we're not in class, but I will videotape them for you as they grow so that you can watch them grow and develop with me. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to document what we saw today, and we're going to not have a science journal right now, so instead we're going to use a chart. And on the chart I wrote silkworms because that's what they are and that's the topic of our chart. And on the first column I'm going to write the date. So this is the date. This is when we actually observe the silkworms. So when you get to observe the silkworms, we're going to write down the date. And then I'm going to write down food. So you already know the food they eat, right, boys and girls? So they eat mulberry leaves. So we'll write down how many mulberry leaves they eat each time we see them. I'll probably draw or I'll write numbers. But today, I don't think they ate one, so we're just going to draw. And then at the very end, I'm going to write what we saw, what they look like. What they look like. So I think I'm going to take it a step back to last week. So last week was March. So I'm going to write down March 27. I took a picture of them. Were they eating food when they were in their eggs? No, there was no food, so I'm going to write 0. 0 means no food. And what you saw like little tiny round, like little ball things, but they were really tiny, and you didn't know what they were. And they were on the green. I had them on a green felt. So that was the first observation we made. We just saw them inside their egg. So today is April 5th, 2000. Do you remember how many leaves I fed them? Remember, I had to cut them up. So it wasn't even a full leaf. So I'm going to kind of draw, remember, art's never wrong. I'm going to draw a leaf. And then I'm going to draw lines of how many pieces I cut. So I think I just did that many. So you see I colored in the piece of the leaf that I cut up for our silkworms to eat. So next I'm going to draw what they look like today. So remember, I made some observations and they look different today. So I'm going to make that same felt. And scientists, they kind of draw what they see. Because, I mean, it's not wrong how you draw it, as long as you try to draw what you see. It's a little different than art where you create your own. Scientists, they draw what they observe because they need to record the information so they can learn from it. So here's my cloth, and I noticed that last week, we'll just add a couple more. There was a whole bunch of little dots on there, and so there was still some more dots today, right, boys and girls? But I'm gonna draw couple of little specks, and this is what they look like today. So some of them were still inside the egg, and then some of them hatched. I think I counted 3 or 4. So I'm just gonna draw 3 and 4, but it's more important that you draw what they look like once they hatch. So we're gonna leave it like that. So remember, like the week before, they were still inside their egg and they weren't moving, and now some of them have hatched and they've moved out. So when we go observe them next, we'll see if there are even more changes. So boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed our Science Sunday. Let's take one more look at what our eggs look like right now. And then I want you to look at this one over here where I think a worm hatched from them. So look what the egg looks like after. And then some of them that are white, I don't know if that means they're out, or maybe they're not. There wasn't a silkworm in there, because we noticed that once they came out, the silkworms were what color? Do you remember? how dark, look at, I'm going to show you, look. What color were they when they came out? They were black. They were a little tiny black. Can you see them? How many can you see? Can you count? I can count 3 of them right now. So look closely. I see 1, 2, and 3, but there's probably more underneath the leaves. So now you know what's inside those little eggs. See you next time.